Is it worth your watch? Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Just seen this movie today, and honestly, I'm not too much of a fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I've played it here and there a few times, and it's just not for me. I prefer visual stimuli in games and such, and a game all about imagination, and you have to follow the rules when you do anything, and it gets kind of tedious. So I'm not the biggest fan. So I went in this movie. I wasn't expecting much, to be honest, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. First of all, the effects for all the spells and the fights were amazing. The fire and the wind, the guy controlling water, the mage stuff, shockwaves, a stone hand. It was fantastic. It looked great. It wasn't Avatar level, but it was very good. The story didn't really spark too much out of me, and it was a simple story. It's just a fantasy setting, and it did the job. I mean, you're not there. I mean, you are kind of there for the story, right? But at the same time, there's other aspects of the film that draw your attention way more, such as the comedy, which was actually one of the main points of this film, right? That one of the main points in Dungeons and Dragons, you like, hey DM, I'm gonna do this silly thing with this NPC character. Haha, let me roll for it. So yeah, I mean, it's Honor Among Thieves. The main characters are thieves, so they're gonna get into some silly scenarios. And the comedy was alright. It did make you laugh at some points, but honestly, I'd give that more to the physical comedy and the visuals. The jokes themselves were kind of simple. They're kind of corny, to be honest. But they're not bad. I enjoyed them. Don't get me wrong. The acting from the actors was fine. It's nothing like Brendan Fraser or Christian Bale level, But they're pretty good. They were good, They got the lines across. They did bring life to the characters. The characters aren't the most three-dimensional things, but the story did give them all a little bit of story and background to work on, but it wasn't anything special. And also, in terms of Dungeons and Dragons, because you might think, wait a minute, you come up with the game yourself. You have like the stories and the campaigns that you follow, but you choose what to do. So what's gonna happen here? And I guess the movie is based on like one of the default campaigns that you might buy in a book, but they obviously branched off of that. And yeah, I mean, in terms of Dungeons and Dragons and their lore, I imagine some of the monsters in the movie might come from it. There's definitely references that a noob such as me might know, like there's like a druid. Yeah, obviously the classes, the types of the characters match like the classes. There's a paladin at one point. There's the thief. There's a druid, a sorcerer, and like a some woman with an axe. I guess that's like some berserker class or something. I don't know. The druid uses this spell called Wild Shape, to shapeshift. And obviously I've seen that in game before. I don't know too many of the spells. There's like this wizard that does some zappy things, and I think I've seen that, but I don't have the much knowledge on the game. But yeah, definitely does connect to Dungeons and Dragons, but it doesn't obviously make it stick out. It's just, in my opinion, it's just a fantasy movie where they're in a fantasy world, they're doing sorcery and stuff. Yeah, that's about as much as you'd expect from it. And yeah, the world did look very fantasy, you know. It did feel like a world that is not akin to ours, in fantasy imaginary world, and that made me happy because, oh shit, is this like real life? Nope, not at all. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, the movie's enjoyable. Just don't go in, if you're gonna watch it, don't go into it with too many expectations of it being some Oscar worthy thing. It's just a fun movie. It has some decent comedy. The story is kind of whatever, and it's just enjoyable if you just look at it as like, oh look, cool spell, how thing go boom. So yeah, all in all, I think that this movie is worth your watch. Thank you very much, and that's about it. See ya.